Today I'm going to be doing a speaker test for the OnePlus 3, the HTC 10, the LG G5, and the Samsung Galaxy S7. Just to go over the speaker placements of the phones, the OnePlus 3 has one bottom-facing speaker located right here. See it right here. The HTC 10 has two speakers. One is actually front-facing right at the top here, which kind of acts like a tweeter. It plays the highs. And then you have one bottom-facing speaker right here. Is that showing on camera? There you go. One bottom-facing speaker right here, which kind of acts like a subwoofer, plays the lows. The LG G5 has one bottom-facing speaker, located right here. And I've done a speaker test with the G5 before, and this is actually the best bottom-facing speaker that I've heard. And finally, the Samsung Galaxy S7, which also has a bottom-facing speaker right here, right there. I will be using a decibel meter to test the sound off of these speakers, but the real test is going to be just the music playing or the videos playing and listening to see which one sounds the best. Now, I've said this before, but just because a speaker is louder doesn't mean that it necessarily sounds better. There are some speakers that have a lower volume and have a better quality of sound, but even in that respect, just because something sounds better, but then what's really the point of a speaker that has great quality but you can barely hear out of it? But that's also personal preference. Every phone is going to be at 100% full volume, and I will give you my opinions at the end.
This is my 1 week review on the Nexus 6P. Now, I've actually owned this phone for more than a week now, probably 8 or 9 days. And if you watched my past videos, specifically the 24-hour review on the Nexus 6P, or any of the past Moto X Pure Edition versus Nexus 6P comparison videos, a lot of what I might say today might be rehashes of those videos, but they're all really important notes that I don't want to leave out. The Nexus 6P is a solidly built phone. It's probably the classiest Nexus phone that's ever been released. It's really a tall phone, but it's very slim. But it's still tall enough where it's not a phone that's a true one-handed phone. I mean, I still use this phone one-handedly, but most of the time I find myself having to adjust my position to kind of get to the top and bottom of the display, or in other cases I'm still using two hands to do whatever I need to do on my phone.
Okay, if I had to rank these phones from first to last in speaker quality, that is external speaker quality, the Samsung Galaxy S7 would come last. And it's not that the S7 has a bad speaker, it's just not as loud, it's not as rich as the other three phones. Compared to the other phones, it's just not as loud and has a tinier kind of output. I've heard that a lot of that has to do with the waterproofing on the S7, so if waterproofing is more important than the external speakers, then there you go. Your decision's easy. I know the external speaker is not the biggest thing for a lot of people. A lot of people just tell me they just use their 3.5mm headphone jack instead, and that's fine. Third place would be the OnePlus 3. And by no means is the OnePlus 3 bad either. Actually, this is a lot better than I thought it would be, especially for a single bottom firing speaker. And as far as volume goes, like loudness, it sounds almost as loud as the HTC 10. Second place for me would be the HTC 10, which might come as a surprise for a lot of people, but I'll get into that. The HTC 10, even though it has two speakers, the front-facing one here and the bottom-firing one here, a lot of times I have issues with the loudness of the phone. But here's the thing, so when it comes to music, I feel like the highs are really good, and I feel like there's actual instrument like separation, so you can hear the little like nuances of stuff, and you know, I say nuances like I'm some like expert at sound, and I'm not. This is just my personal preference. This is how it is for me. It's my opinion. Sometimes I just don't feel like there's enough low end on this phone. So for music, even though it's good to listen to, it's still not as loud as I'd like it to be. And I feel like the mids and lows could be richer. But I will tell you, when I use this to watch videos, and I'm talking about videos that have a lot of speech, a lot of audio, like just talking, this is the best to use. It's very clear and it separates from everything else. And you know, I didn't get a chance to really listen to music that has vocals in it, so that might be a big issue too. I've been having a lot of trouble with copyright stuff lately because if you've noticed in my last speaker test, I use usually popular music. And you know, I know YouTube has their like copyright strike stuff and I just don't want to get involved with that. Again, it's great that it has a front-facing speaker. It's something that I always talk about. I just wish it was louder. I wish that at times it was fuller. And my favorite for the speakers is the LG G5. You know, a lot of people give the G5 a hard time because of its build quality, metal kind of thing, whatever fiasco people are talking about, but I will say that I've always had a thing against bottom firing speakers, but whatever speaker they put on here sounds really, really good. The G5 is the loudest of all four. Sometimes it's so loud that it actually kind of muddles the music, which is why the HTC 10 is really good here because it can separate that kind of stuff. But if I have the G5 and I'm using it, and let's say I'm at a bar or I'm at a restaurant and I'm trying to show somebody something that involves audio, the G5 easily trumps these other three when it comes to the external speaker. Like I said before, loudness isn't everything. Quality is still really important, but sometimes quality just isn't enough when you need a much higher volume. And I feel like the LG G5 is still really rich and full as far as the speakers go. Even when I pair this up with the Nexus 6P, sometimes the LG G5 seems a little richer, a little fuller than the 6P. I've also pitted this against the Moto X Pure Edition, but the Moto X Pure Edition still takes a cake as the best speakers that I've ever listened to on a phone. Again, all four of these phones have decent speakers. If you're at home and you're in bed and you want to listen to your phone, or you want to watch a video on YouTube or something, they'll all work fine. They're great. The only difference is when it starts coming to like a noisier environment. But for me, this is how I would rank them. I'll see you tomorrow.